Set me free, why don't you, babe? Get out my life, why don't you, babe? You really don't want me, you just keep me hanging on.
Hello, vinyl community. It is almost 50 years to the day since Vanilla Fudge released their self-titled album. Really an iconic piece of psychedelic rock. It was released right at the end of August of 1967. So it's now September 1st, so I'm off by a couple of days, but although it didn't really climb the Billboard charts until September of 67. So I guess I can just about get away with it. And we'll say it's 50 years. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the album. Like I said, it's kind of a psychedelic rock classic or masterpiece, whatever you want to call it. And it's just a fantastic album that I think anyone should have in their collection, even if you think you're not gonna like it, psychedelic rock. Trust me, give it a try because it's wild. It really is. So let's give a little background. So Vanilla Fudge were technically formed in '67, the same year that the album was released. They had been together in one incarnation or another for a couple of years before that, but the final lineup and the name of the band did not come about until 1967. So they were originally going to be called the Pigeons, but the record company Atlantic kind of said it's not going to happen. So they were forced to come up with a name change. Otherwise, Atlantic was basically threatening to not release any albums by them. And I think they made the right decision, to be honest with you. I mean, what a great name for a band, Vanilla Fudge. There's just something about it. Yeah, and so four main guys in the band as it was first formed. There was Mark Stein. There was Tim, and I'm not sure if it's Bogart or Bogart. I have to be honest, I was not 100% sure on the pronunciation. There's Vince Martell, and then another guy whose last name I was never 100% sure how to pronounce either, but Carmine Appice, or Appice. I always used to say Appice, but somebody correct me if that's wrong. It could be Appice, I guess, but anyway, I always used to think it was Appice, so that's what I'm going with. And that was the lineup for the 3 years or so that they were together. The 3 years that they were making the studio albums back in the 60s. And yeah, they split up in 1970, but they did since reform in the sense that they're still touring. As far as I know, they don't put out any new material. Somebody can correct me on that, but I don't think they do. But some of the live stuff now, it's crazy. Like they do cover versions of like NSYNC and stuff, which sounds terrible, but it's got the Vanilla Fudge twist to it. They slow it down, they make it into this sort of hard rock, psych rock, song, and it's just great, you know. So let's have a look at the track listing on this. This, by the way, I got on eBay some time ago, probably, oh, at least a year ago, and it is just in beautiful, immaculate condition. I got this for a really great price, and yeah, well, I think it was under $10, and for the condition it's in, that's just, you know, can't go wrong. As I mentioned, it is on the Atlantic label, and I'll show you the record right here. This is the yellow Atlantic label, and it's mostly cover versions. So just like I said, you know, that they cover like NSYNC and stuff sometimes now in their gigs. Well, that's not crazy for Vanilla Fudge. I mean, that's kind of what they did, and this album in particular. Um, so here's the back, and let's look at the track listing. So we have two Beatles tracks on here. We start off with Ticket to Ride. We then have People Get Ready. That's the Curtis Mayfield song. She's Not There, of course, originally sung by the Zombies. Bang Bang, which was a Cher song written by her husband, Sonny Bono. Side two, we have the first of a three-part sequence, Illusions of My Childhood, Part 1. We then have the big hit, You Keep Me Hanging On, which I'll come back to in a second. Of course, cover version of The Supremes. Illusions of My Childhood, Part 2. Take Me for a Little While. Illusions of My Childhood, Part 3. And then Eleanor Rigby, so the last track on the album and the second of our Beatles covers. So what Vanilla Fudge were kind of known for was that they almost reduced the songs down, the cover songs down to like a half speed almost. So you find like You Keep Me Hanging On, of course, you know, with the Supremes, it's a quick sort of number, you know. Same thing with like, I'm sure a lot of you know the Kim Wilde version from the 80s, the pop cover version. You know, it's a fast pop song, essentially. But Vanilla Fudge just take the tempo way down. They make it hard rock, psych rock, and it's like I said, it's kind of crazy to listen to it in a way because it's sort of a miracle that they were able to get away with it because it's you know, okay, it was 1967. You know, we music was really starting to get very experimental. You know, we had the Beach Boys doing their stuff. Both Sgt. Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour came out in 1967 from the Beatles. So it was very definitely experimental at the time. Things were moving at a quick pace, but even so, I think a lot of bands would not have been able to get away with what Vanilla Fudge were doing to some of these songs. But it somehow it all comes together and it works, and it's just fantastic. So I mentioned that I was going to talk about You Keep Me Hanging On. That was by far their biggest hit, easily the biggest hit, and you know it's again it's a great slower version of it, but you just have to listen to it to appreciate it. So, you know, I played a very small clip of it in this video. I'm not playing the whole song just for copyright reasons, just a very small clip. So, you know, the best thing you can do is buy the album. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find full versions of it, like you can with anything. But, you know, and let's talk about the artwork. I mean, isn't that beautiful? I mean, look at it. I like the simplicity of it, and you know, this always reminded me of Goldfinger. I remember the girl in Goldfinger, James Bond, who gets covered in gold paint and suffers a rather unfortunate fate as a result. So, yeah, the album got to number 6 in the Billboard Top 200, as I think I mentioned earlier, and just easily their biggest hit, the album. They they never really got close after that, I don't think. But yeah, if you can pick this up, it doesn't go for huge money on eBay. I got really lucky with it being in this condition. I probably paid half of what it was worth, but yeah, go if you don't have it, go on eBay and search for it because again, it's really just as far as psychedelic rock goes. I mean, it's just way up there. Just what an iconic album. So that's it. Just wanted to share that with you guys. If any of you guys have the album, please leave a comment. If if you have questions about the album, I'm by no means an expert on Vanilla Fudge, but I do have one or two more albums by them. But this is easily the best, definitely the best, the most well known, the most recognized, has the biggest hit on it. You Keep Me Hanging On. So yeah, just great stuff. So thanks as always, guys, for watching, and until next time, bye bye.